I want to talk about Donald. I want to talk about Donald Trump a little bit. We're not going to talk about Donald Trump so much as a person, right, wrong, vote for him, not vote for him. No, we're not getting into that. So I posted a video about Donald Trump and his trade war against China. And
don't say it like him.
Did I say it like I'm China? I did say it like I'm wilding. But his trade war against China. And it's not going very well for him, but that's besides the point. Point is, I see a comment on that video saying, hey, Donald Trump seems to have put on a bunch of tariffs on a bunch of countries because he's dabbling in something called insider trading. Now, you're going to hear a few terms in this segment of the video, but don't worry, they're not as scary as they may seem if you don't know what they are. First things first, what's insider trading? It's basically like you get insider info on the stock market. The stock market is kinda like gambling. But if you know what's going to happen in the future, it's not really gambling anymore. So it defeats the purpose of the stock market. So if you know when to pull your money out and you know when to put your money in to make a whole bunch of cash because someone told you what's going to happen. Matter of fact, let's just get into the story and it'll make more sense as it goes on. Okay. Trust me on this one. So they say Donald Trump, and one of my comments says Donald Trump added tariffs on a bunch of countries because he's dabbling in insider trading. Okay. So that's speculation and people have this speculative thought. But there's some evidence behind why people are speculating this. So when something huge happens in the world, usually it affects the stock market, especially when it's something unpredictable. Donald Trump putting a bunch of tariffs on every country is wildly unpredictable. So people are going to pull their money out of the stock market. They're going to say, oh no, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know what's going to happen with my money. Let me pull it out. So the stock market tanks. The stock market crashes. Now, what insider trading is, when you start dabbling into a little bit of insider trading, is let's say Donald Trump tells you beforehand, he tells you, oh, by the way, what I'm going to do is add a bunch of tariffs. So the stock market's going to crash. So you might want to pull your money out now. If Donald Trump goes over to you and tells you that, and then you pull out all your money, that's insider trading, because now you're not playing the game fairly. Now you have insider information, okay? But people aren't saying that's what Donald did. They're accusing him of insider trading during this next part. Now, listen closely. While the stocks are going down, when he added in all those tariffs and the stocks went down, Donald said, if I were you, I would invest right now in the stock market. So people are thinking, ooh, that's peculiar. Why would he say something like that? He's saying, y'all, put your money in the stock market. Trust me, right? A few days later, he says, okay, I reversed my tariff thing. I'm taking all the tariffs off on all those countries. Stock market shoots back up because they're saying, oh, things are going back to normal. We can put our money back in. A lot of people make a lot of money because if you don't know how the stock market works, if you put your money in when people sell a bunch of things, and boy, I'm not no stock market expert. Man, look up a definition of the stock market.
If I just say, what is the stock market? They're gonna fucking raid this house. It's a stupid ass question. It's a little hard to like explain the stock market in a simple way. But let's just say if you put your money in when there's less money floating around in the stock market, when things are low, you're going to make more money when things get high again. Forget all that. If you're curious about the stock market, look up a definition. I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to explain to you exactly how. You're about to get a bunch of actually. Yeah,
technically, look, that's not important to the story. Don't worry too much about that. But people basically make a lot of money when Donald Trump is flipping back and forth between how he's moving the stock market. Donald Trump is going to tell you, no, I'm not doing that on purpose. But theoretically, right, if he was doing this on purpose, now you can start to see where the insider trading comes in. Because if he's the only person that knows he's going to add a bunch of tariffs and the stock market's going to go down, and he's the only person that knows when he's going to take those tariffs out, so the stock market's going to go up, all well and good. But if he starts to tell other people, his friends, by the way, tomorrow I'm going to add a bunch of tariffs on a bunch of countries, and his friends start pulling out their money early, if he starts telling his friends, oh, by the way, on October 10th, that's when I'm going to remove the tariffs again. Stock market's going to go up. Everybody knows that. On October 10th, I'm going to do this. And his friends start adding money back in the stock market and they start making a bunch of money. You start leaning towards insider trading. Somebody named Marjorie Taylor Greene was a great example as to why people started speculating this. Marjorie Taylor Greene apparently made millions off of Donald Trump adding in tariffs, removing tariffs. Donald Trump knows Marjorie Taylor Greene. Donald Trump probably told Marjorie Taylor Greene when he was going to add tariffs, remove tariffs. So Marjorie Taylor Greene then knew when the stocks were going to rise and fall. But here's where I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate, okay? Because if you know anything about stocks and if you know things about how politics works, then you might be able to make some educated guesses. Like Donald Trump said himself, he said, if I were you, I would invest right now. He's speaking as a businessman, failed businessman, successful businessman, whatever you may call him. He's speaking as a businessman. He's saying, if I were you, I'd invest, because he knows, and people who know stocks knows the stock market's going to go back up again. They just don't know when. Okay. But he's saying, I would do it now. Okay. Now, the thing about Donald Trump adding tariffs in the first place is I can tell you right now, as a person who follows politics, is he wasn't going to keep those tariffs on forever. There was no way he's going to keep them on for maybe even a month. He was going to pull those tariffs off immediately. So maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene knew that. She's a politician at the end of the day. She's thinking, okay, there's no way he's going to keep these tariffs on for a long time. Let me invest in the stock market. I know he's going to pull the tariffs off very soon. The thing people are scared about is when. They just don't know when. They don't want to play with their money. But if you start diving into politics a little bit more and you see how badly Donald Trump is losing his trade war against China, you can now start to guesstimate times when he's going to pull out tariffs or add tariffs. Because let's get a little bit deeper. Every country in the world pissed at the United States right now. They're starting to look at other options, other superpowers that they can, communicate a lot more with. China being one of them. United States losing all of its friends. Donald Trump is thinking, oh my gosh, why would I add those tariffs on all of those countries? I'm losing all of my friends. To get back my friends, I need to pull those tariffs off right now. This trade war is going terribly. So now you can guess, okay, Donald Trump is definitely pulling off those tariffs like in a week. Less than a week, very soon. Here's another example for you. If you follow politics, you'll see I'm not joking with you when I say Donald Trump is losing this trade war really bad against China. He made a lot of blunders. You can say what you want. You can say, no, he's not. Don't invest in stocks. If you think emotionally, do not invest in stocks. He's losing the trade war really bad. So you can guess, you can make a very educated guess that Donald Trump is going to make a deal with China very soon, because he is losing a lot of money for American businesses right now. They're getting pissed off. It's not looking good for the economy. He's looking like a bad president. China's not backing down. He has to make a deal ASAP. I guarantee you within a month, look at the news, he's going to say he made a deal. If that affected the stocks, I would invest accordingly. You see what I'm saying here? So it may be a little presumptuous to say Marjorie Taylor Greene got information from Donald Trump when she could have probably guessed some of this information herself. That being said, that does not mean she didn't get information from Donald Trump. That doesn't mean people close to Donald Trump didn't get information from him, because let's be real. Let's start getting into a little more speculative facts. Donald Trump isn't your most honest politician on planet Earth. Donald Trump plays with stocks. Donald Trump runs businesses. Is it too far-fetched to think that he would manipulate stocks? Is it too far-fetched to think that he would call up one of his boys and say, hey, by the way, tomorrow I'm adding in tariffs. Hey, by the way, tomorrow I'm pulling out tariffs. Is it too far-fetched to say? He has a press conference. He says, hey, by the way, I made a lot of these guys, he's talking about his billionaire friends, I made a lot of these guys a lot of money with that whole tariff thing. So people instantly said, oh my gosh, there it is right there. Donald Trump, insider trading. But, and you ain't never finna catch me defend no Donald Trump, but what he's actually saying there isn't I made a bunch of these guys money because I was dabbling in insider trading. No, what he was saying was, remember when I told you guys to invest? These guys behind me listened to me. When I told them to invest in the stock market right now, they listened to me, so they made a lot of money. You know, Donald Trump likes to stroke his ego a little bit. He said, if you listen to me, when I tell you to invest, you better do it. When I tell you to put your money in the stock market, do it. When I tell you to pull it out, do it. These people behind me, listen to me, they made a bunch of money. That's what he's saying. He's not saying he was dabbling in insider trading. That being said, again, not too far-fetched to believe that the people he was talking about, he really did hit them up and say, hey, pull out your money here, pull out your money there. You feel what I'm saying? This reminds me of Martha Stewart. For those of you that don't know.
This is a strange segue.
But it's going to make sense. Trust me. It's going to make sense. For those of you that don't know, Martha Stewart, she had a cooking channel, right? She did something with cooking. Anyway, regardless.
She had a cooking show and a cookbook.
She had a cooking show and a cooking book. She made a lot of money. She made a lot of money. She did a lot of investing as well. She got in trouble from the feds. She got in trouble for dabbling in some insider trading. Basically, she pulled out her money from this company when their stock went down, and she put it back in when their stock went up. At such a coincidental time that you need to ask yourself, how much evidence do you need to stop calling it speculation and start calling it a fact? The feds asked themselves that same question. But it's hard to prove if somebody's insider trading or not, because they can say anything. They can say, no, I just felt like pulling out my money at this time. You don't know what's actually going on through somebody's head, right?
Justice for my girl Martha.
So, well, listen to this. Listen to me closely. When I say pulling out your money at a certain time or putting it in at a certain time, I mean it's such an unbelievable coincidence that you would decide to pull out your money at a certain time for some things that it may look like you see the future. They're really asking her, Martha, why would you pull out your money now? She said, because I felt like it. They said, okay, fine. But why would you put your money back in just when the company stock started rising again? It really looks like you knew what they were going to do before they did it. Martha said, no, I was just chilling. I just felt like doing it at that time. What you going to do, read my mind? Great argument, right? Well, she still got booked for it. She still got in trouble for it because she got snitched. And that's pretty much the only reason you can get in trouble for insider trading. One of her friends came over. She said, yeah, me and Martha, we was chilling. We was having tea. And it was a really close friend of hers. Went straight on the stand. She said, yeah, me and Martha, we was chilling. And then Martha told me she dabbled in insider trading. That's why she knew the stocks were going to go down. That's how she knew the stocks were going to go up. My girl Martha was insider trading. Martha says snitch.
Ooh, you can't tell people anything.
That's what I'm saying. You can't tell people no. But you know how you tell your close friend, your sibling, you know, you tell them when you did something wild. You know, that's why it was believable to a jury. They said, oh yeah, she probably definitely did that.
Okay, but you know what the penalty is for a congressman to insider trade?
What?
A $200 fine.
There you go. Bro, congressmen have some like weird thing like with insider trading, right? Like if you're an everyday person who dabbles in a little bit of insider trading, like you be getting locked up, right? Like you be getting into trouble, right? A congressman,
they will hang you in the town square.
$200.
But if you're a congressman, so basically Obama tried to ban insider trading for members of Congress.
And hold on, pause, Manda, real quick. And you know why Obama would try to do that is, again, going back to what we're saying about politicians. They know when things might happen, you know? So it kind of gives an unfair advantage. If a congressman, it's just like the NBA and sports betting. It's why Michael Jordan got in so much trouble for gambling allegations. If you know what's going to happen in a game, you might be able to pull some strings to help people out, to make people some money, right? If you're a congressman and you decide, okay, I'm going to make this law to increase water production, then you might start investing in water. You feel what I'm saying? So that's why congressmen can really have a lot of pull in the whole insider trading thing. But go ahead. What was you saying?
Yeah, so obviously members of Congress, they had a lot of public outrage against Obama doing a ban on insider trading. I wonder why.
But why would they? You know what I'm saying? That's the crazy part. Yeah.
Actual pinheads. But they passed an act called the Stock Act, which the Congress had overwhelming support for. It's very suspicious. And the act required members of Congress to file disclosures of their stock trades within 30 days. So any trades that they do, they have to file it within 30 days. We can look online and see like the past stocks that they traded in. But if there is insider trading that happens in it, the penalty is $200.
Wow.
They gotta pay.
So they basically have to say, this is what I'm doing in the stock market. They just have to post it and say, this is what I'm doing in the stock market.
Yeah.
And if they are caught and they say, oh no, what you're doing is insider trading, then they have to pay a $200 fine.
Basically, and I'll take that.
No,
if I can get $2 million, here's $200 for free. Are you kidding me?
Golly, if I'm in Congress, I'm not gonna lie to you. Shoot. Have you ever cheated on a test? If you cheated on a test, then you might do a little bit of insider trading. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so easy to sit here and say, I would never insider trade. But golly, you know, I'm not saying I would. IRS, chill out. I'm not saying I would. But I'm just saying, if you've ever cheated on a test and somebody gives you the answers about the stock market and says, hey, you about to make $2 million. I'm just saying you may or may not do a little bit of insider trading. I say you. I ain't saying me. I say you. Stop playing with me. You got to see how easy it is to make that leap to insider trading, right? You got to see how simple it is. So the evidence that Donald Trump may have dabbled in a little bit of insider trading is, one, it's an easy leap. Like, people be insider trading. Two, Donald Trump's friends made money. Donald Trump's friends made some cash. Is it too hard to believe that he may have hit him up with a little phone call, a little text? Hey, broski, if I was you, I would do this at this time. You know what I'm saying? Three, it's hard to prove when somebody's insider trading. That's why people do it as well. You can't read people's minds. They can always sit there and say, look, I just decided to invest my stocks in there by coincidence. You gonna hit me? You gonna call me a liar? You gonna read my mind? Can't prove it, no matter how wild it looks. And I'm sure they're gonna investigate Donald for this, but it's probably going to be for show. They know that nothing can stick with this. Donald Trump literally again has to turn around and say, no, that's not why I added tariffs. That's it. That's all he has to say. Again, you can't read his mind. Unless Marjorie Taylor Greene comes out and says, oh, yeah, Donald Trump told me he was going to do this, that, and the third. That's the only way you would be able to do it. So
she's still fighting them beach blonde bush body allegations.
Yeah, she got other things to deal with right now. So you can imagine how Donald Trump might do that. Knowing that you won't get caught and you're going to make millions. You know, it's either that or Donald Trump is a super honest guy and he would never tell anybody when he's going to do things.
How would he tell us when he's going to leave?
Oh,
please, give me a break.
Lord.